The Warning 1. The arrival. The Catherine Empire's third conquest fleet emerged from quantum slip space at the edge of Sol system, like a swarm of metal predators. 300 warships, each bristling with plasma cannons and kinetic accelerators, hung in the void like a promise of destruction. Their hulls bore the scars of 47 successful campaigns. Worlds conquered, species subjugated, resistance crushed. Fleet Commander Zarthok stood on the bridge of the flagship Dominant Fang, his four eyes scanning the holographic display of the primitive system before him. The third planet from the star glowed blue and green, ripe. Defenseless, perfect. Tactical assessment, he commanded, his voice a deep rumble that resonated through his thorax. His second officer, Krell, manipulated the sensor data with practiced efficiency. Preliminary scans confirm intelligence reports, Commander. Minimal orbital infrastructure. Approximately 200 small stations, primarily commercial and scientific. No energy signatures consistent with military-grade shielding. A handful of outdated fusion drive vessels in planetary orbit. Zarthok's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. And their technological level? Primitive nuclear fission, early fusion reactors, chemical propulsion for most vessels. Commander, they haven't even achieved reliable interstellar capability. The humans are barely a Type 0.7 civilization. Laughter rippled through the bridge crew. Another easy conquest. The Empire would absorb the system within a lunar cycle, harvest its resources, and add another jewel to the Emperor's crown. The humans would serve or perish. The choice was always the same. Set course for the third planet, Zarthok ordered. Battle formation Theta. Let them see what true power looks like. The fleet began its inexorable advance into the solar system. Engines burning like angry stars going to first contact. We're 3 days past Jupiter's orbit when the small vessel appeared. It emerged from behind one of the gas giant's moons, a simple cylindrical craft barely 50 meters long. No weapons hardpoints, no armor plating, just a white hull with blue markings and the strange symbols that represented the human language. Commander, we're receiving a transmission request, the communications officer announced. Audio-visual, standard diplomatic frequencies. Zarthok's eyes narrowed. They dare approach a battle fleet with a civilian vessel? Their foolishness knows no bounds. Accept the transmission. Let's hear what prayers they offer before their end. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a human female in a simple gray uniform. She appeared calm, unnaturally so. Her dark eyes held no fear, no desperation, just a quiet, almost sad certainty. I am Ambassador Sarah Chen of the United Earth Government, she said in flawless Kethran, surprising several bridge officers. I'm here to deliver a message from humanity to the Catherine Empire. You speak our language, Zarthok observed. How quaint. You've been studying us. For 3 years, Chen replied simply. Since your scout ship surveyed our system. We know why you're here, Commander Zarthok of the Dominant Fang. We know about your fleet's history. We know about Velnar Prime, about the Torvash colonies, about the massacre at Kindred Station. Zarthok's mandibles spread in what passed for a Kethran smile. Then you know resistance is futile. Surrender now and your species will be granted worker status within the Empire. Resist and your cities will burn. Chen's expression didn't change. I'm not here to negotiate surrender, Commander. I'm here to give you a warning. One chance to turn your fleet around and leave this system. Turn back now. You don't want this fight. The bridge erupted in clicking laughter. Even Krell, normally stoic, allowed himself an amused trill. You warn us? Zarthok leaned forward, his massive frame filling the screen. Human, my fleet has crushed civilizations 10 times more advanced than yours. Your sensor technology can't even penetrate our stealth fields. Your weapons are centuries behind our shielding. What possible threat could you pose? Chen was quiet for a moment and something flickered in her eyes. Was it pity? Commander, we've watched you conquer those 47 systems. We've studied every battle, every tactic, every weapon you possess. We've analyzed your shield frequencies, your formation patterns, your command protocols. We know how you think, how you fight. And we know nothing of you. Zarthok's amusement was genuine. Human, you broadcast your primitive transmissions across the galaxy. Your entertainment, your news, your very thoughts radiate into space like a beacon. We know everything about you, your divided governments, your limited resources, your petty conflicts. You are chaos pretending at civilization. Yes, Chen said softly. That's what we wanted you to see. The statement hung in the air, curious and cryptic. Zarthok felt the first prickle of unease, quickly suppressed. Your warning is noted and rejected, he declared. You have 24 hours to evacuate your orbital stations before we begin bombardment. The Catherine Empire claims this system by right of superior force. Ambassador Chen nodded slowly, as if she'd expected nothing else. Then we gave you a choice, Commander. When this is over, if you survive, remember that. Remember that we tried. Remember that this didn't have to happen. She reached forward and the transmission ended. For a moment, the bridge was silent. Then Zarthok straightened, shaking off the odd chill that had crept along his spine. Continue advance, he commanded. Double watch on sensors. And someone analyze that ship. I want to know how they achieved that translation matrix. But as the human vessel turned and accelerated away with surprising speed, Zarthok couldn't shake Ambassador Chen's final words. We gave you a choice, as if the humans held power here. As if they controlled what would happen next. Ridiculous. The Catherine perspective, Zarthok had not risen to command the Empire's Third Fleet through caution. He had taken risks, pressed advantages, and crushed resistance with overwhelming force. His tactical record was flawless. 47 victories, 0 defeats, minimal casualties. He studied the tactical display in his private chamber, reviewing the data once more. The human system was militarily insignificant. Their largest vessels massed perhaps 10,000 tons, barely qualifying as frigates by Catherine standards. His flagship alone displaced 400,000 tons and carried firepower sufficient to sterilize a continent. The mathematics were simple. Overwhelming force, decisive action, quick victory, and yet, Commander, Krell entered carrying a data tablet. The xenolinguistics team has completed their analysis of the ambassador's translation matrix. And it's sophisticated, more sophisticated than it should be. The algorithm accounts for cultural context, idiom, even emotional subtext. It's actually superior to our own translation technology. Zarthok waved a manipulator dismissively. One advanced computer program doesn't make them warriors. What of their orbital defenses? Unchanged. 217 stations, mostly civilian. We've identified what appear to be 12 military platforms. Older models, probably early fusion warhead missile systems. Laughable by our standards. Their fleet positions? Concentrated near the third planet and its moon. 43 vessels total, none larger than a light cruiser. Commander, our smallest battle group could eliminate their entire military in under an hour. The numbers were reassuring. Concrete. Real. Still, Chen's calm face haunted him. That absolute certainty. That pity. We know how you think, how you fight. Maintain alert status, Zarthok ordered. I want continuous deep scans of the system. Check the asteroid belt, the outer planets, everything. If they're hiding something, I want it found. Yes, Commander. Though I suspect they're simply hoping we'll hesitate. A psychological tactic. Make us paranoid. Make us second-guess ourselves. Perhaps. Zarthok turned back to the tactical display, watching the fleet's steady advance past Mars orbit. But we'll be thorough nonetheless. The humans get their 24 hours. After that, we demonstrate what happens to species that refuse the Empire's mercy. The fleet continued its approach, sensors sweeping the void for threats that seemed not to exist, but they were there, waiting, watching, ready. Subtle signs, it started small, anomalies so minor that individually, they meant nothing. Commander, intermittent contact at bearing 270, range 400,000 kilometers, reported the sensor officer. Appeared for 3 seconds, then vanished. Mass signature consistent with a small asteroid. Zarthok barely glanced up. Probably a sensor echo. Mark it and continue. 10 minutes later. Contact at bearing 0951.2 million kilometers. Again, only momentary. Gravitational fluctuation in Sector 7, within normal parameters, but unusual timing. Brief communications spike on quantum bands. Origin uncertain. Could be natural stellar phenomenon. 1 anomaly. 2, 5, 10. Junior Tactical Officer Shen was the first to notice the pattern. He was young, recently promoted, still eager to prove himself. While his superiors focused on Earth itself, Shen studied the broader system, and what he saw made his blood chill. Second Officer Krell, he said hesitantly. Permission to share an observation? Krell's attention remained on his primary console. Proceed. Sir, I've been tracking the sensor anomalies. Individually, they appear random: ghost contacts, minor fluctuations, background noise. But when I plot them spatially, he transferred his analysis to Krell's screen. They form a pattern, a perimeter around our fleet. Krell studied the data, his secondary eyes narrowing. Could be confirmation bias. You see a pattern because you're looking for one. Perhaps, sir, but the timing concerns me. Every anomaly occurred after we rejected the human warning, and they're increasing in frequency as we approach Earth-Moon space. Are you suggesting the humans have some kind of stealth technology? I'm suggesting we're missing something, sir. The ambassador seemed too confident. And these readings, Shen hesitated. What if those aren't sensor errors? What if they're real contacts, vessels, or platforms we're only catching glimpses of when they move or adjust position? Krell was silent for a long moment. Then he transferred the data to Zarthok's command station. Commander, recommend we halt advance and conduct full system sweep. Zarthok examined Shen's analysis with growing irritation. Caution was wise, but paranoia was weakness. The young officer was seeing shadows and calling them threats. Officer Shen, how many successful campaigns have you participated in? This is my first, Commander, and I have commanded 47. Trust in experience, officer. The humans are attempting psychological warfare, making us jump at shadows, wasting time on imaginary threats. We will not give them that satisfaction. But, Commander, enough. Zarthok's voice carried finality. We maintain course and speed. If the humans had significant hidden assets, our deep scans would have detected them. What you're seeing is sensor noise amplified by anxiety. Fleet will reach Earth orbit in 16 hours. Prepare for combat operations. Shen returned to his station, doubt warring with duty. Krell watched him go, then turned back to his displays, and tried to ignore the growing sensation that they were not alone in the dark, that somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, something was watching them, measuring them, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. On Earth, in the operations center deep beneath Colorado's mountains, Admiral James Okoye watched the alien fleet's steady approach on holographic displays that showed the true state of the solar system. Every weapon, every ship, every trap. They're 12 hours from the engagement zone, reported his tactical officer. Stealth net status? All platforms holding position. 0 detected by enemy sensors. They've spotted some ghost contacts, but command is dismissing them. Okoye nodded slowly. And the ambassador's warning? Rejected with arrogance, sir. Just as predicted. Then we proceed as planned. Okoye looked at the tactical display, at the 300 alien warships pushing deeper into humanity's carefully prepared killing ground. May God forgive us for what comes next. Because they certainly won't. The trap begins. The Kethrin fleet crossed the invisible boundary at Aero 347, Earth Standard Time, a precisely calculated point where the curvature of space, the orbital positions of Earth's defensive platforms, and the Moon's gravitational well created a perfect tactical cage. They had no idea they'd just entered a trap 40 years in the making. All ships report ready status, Krell announced from his station. Earth orbit in 90 minutes. Their defensive stations remain passive. No increase in energy signatures, no shield activation, no fleet movement. They're not even scrambling their civilian traffic. Zarthok studied the tactical display with satisfaction. The humans had nowhere to run, nothing to fight with. Perhaps Chen's warning had been a last desperate bluff, hoping fear alone might turn them away. It hadn't worked. Begin bombardment sequence, he commanded. Target their 12 military platforms first. Then we can discuss terms of... Every alarm on the bridge screamed at once. Multiple contacts, the sensor officer shouted. Hundreds of them, thousands, appearing all around us. The tactical display exploded with red markers. What had appeared to be empty space moments ago now swarmed with contacts, behind them, beside them, below and above. The asteroids in the belt lit up with power signatures. Chunks of rock that had drifted peacefully for millennia suddenly bristled with weapons. Stealth fields collapsing all around us. Krell's voice held shock. Commander, we're surrounded. We're completely surrounded. Zarthok stared at the display in disbelief. 300 Kethrin warships, and they were outnumbered 5-1. Shields up. All weapons to ready. Fleet formation. Earth's moon split open, not metaphorically. The surface literally opened, massive panels retracting to reveal cavernous launch bays. From those bays emerged rail cannons the size of skyscrapers, their barrels crackling with electromagnetic fury. 40, 60, 100 massive guns, all tracking toward the fleet. Dear gods, Krell whispered. Earth's orbital stations weren't activating because they'd never been the real defense. They were decoys. Bait. While Catherine sensors had focused on them, cataloging their weak signatures and outdated technology, the true weapons had waited in darkness. The moon had been hollowed out, converted, transformed into the largest weapons platform in human history, and now it was awake. Incoming transmission. Communications Officer Wren's voice cracked with stress. All frequencies maximum power overriding our systems. Ambassador Chen's face filled every screen on every Catherine ship. Commander Zarthok, she said, her voice carrying not anger but profound sadness. We gave you a choice. We tried. Remember that. From Earth, from the moon, from 1,000 hidden platforms and stealth ships, humanity's true arsenal awakened, and the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. Defensive pattern. Zarthok began. The first graviton pulse wave hit his fleet like the hand of an angry god, and the Catherine Empire learned what humanity had been building in secret for 4 decades. What? They'd hidden while broadcasting their chaos and division to the galaxy. What they'd prepared for the day someone ignored the warning, the reckoning. Earth's true defense network revealed the graviton pulse weapons fired in perfect synchronization, a coordinated strike, orchestrated by quantum-linked AI systems that humanity had spent 2 generations developing in absolute secrecy. Unlike conventional energy, weapons that Catherine's shields could deflect. Graviton pulses manipulated space-time itself. The invisible waves rippled through the void, bypassing shields as if they didn't exist, and struck the Catherine hulls with the force of localized gravity wells. 53 warships crumpled like aluminum cans in a vise. Metal screamed. Bulkheads collapsed. Internal atmospheres vented into space as hulls compressed under impossible gravitational stress. Catherine warriors died at their stations, crushed by their own equipment as gravity multiplied 10-fold, 20-fold, then released just as suddenly. Shields ineffective, Krell screamed over the cacophony of alarms. Commander, their weapons are passing straight through our defenses. Zarthok gripped his command throne as the dominant fang shuddered under a glancing pulse. His tactical display had transformed from an orderly formation into chaos. 53 ships showing critical damage or destroyed. Another 100 registering shield failures. And the humans weren't finished. Contacts decloaking at range 200,000 kilometers. Human fleet emerging. The stealth fields dropped like falling veils, revealing what Earth had truly been building while the galaxy dismissed them as primitive. Sleek warships materialized from nothing. Angular, aggressive designs bristling with weapons that didn't match any known configuration. Their hulls bore no scars because they'd never seen battle. They'd been built for this moment, for this enemy. 75 capital ships, each one a masterwork of focused military engineering. Another 300 smaller vessels, frigates and destroyers that moved with predatory grace. And behind them, the orbital defense grid that Catherine intelligence had so thoroughly underestimated. The simple stations weren't activating their weapons because they didn't need to. They were power generators, massive fusion reactors feeding energy to the real defensive network. Magnetic accelerator rings, invisible to conventional sensors, encircled Earth in nested layers like a 3-dimensional web. Each ring carried enough electromagnetic charge to accelerate projectiles to relativistic velocities. As Zarthok watched in horror, the rings pulsed with power, and kinetic rounds began hammering his fleet. No plasma, no lasers. Just solid tungsten penetrators moving at 12% light speed. When they hit like judgment itself. Mars' defense grid is active. Tactical Officer Shen reported, his voice numb with shock. Lunar installations fully operational. Asteroid belt weapons platforms. Commander, they've militarized the entire inner system. Through the view screen, Zarthok could see it now. The truth Chen had tried to warn him about. The asteroid belt wasn't just rocks. Hundreds of asteroids were hollow, converted into weapons platforms and ship bays. Even now, more human vessels were emerging from camouflaged hangars carved into ancient stone. How? Zarthok's voice was barely a whisper. How did we not see this? Krell pulled up intelligence data with shaking manipulators. Their broadcast, Commander. The chaos, the division, the conflicts. We assumed they couldn't coordinate. We assumed they were too fractured to mount a unified defense. It was all theater, Shen said quietly. They were united the entire time. They broadcast their dysfunction to make us underestimate them while they built this. The human fleet moved with eerie coordination, each ship perfectly positioned to maximize overlapping fields of fire. No wasted movement, no hesitation. They flowed through space like a school of predatory fish, exploiting every gap in the Kethrin formation. And at the center of it all, a single massive station orbiting Earth, a command hub linking every weapon, every ship, every defensive platform into one unified intelligence. Incoming transmission, Ren announced. From Earth Defense Command. A human male appeared on screen, older, with skin dark as void and eyes that held absolute certainty. His uniform bore simple insignia. Admiral James Okoye, United Earth Defense Force. Commander Zarthok, Okoye said calmly, you are surrounded and outgunned. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Your crews will be treated according to interstellar conventions of war. Resist, and we will disable your vessels with extreme prejudice. You have 60 seconds to decide. Zarthok's mandibles clicked in rage and desperation. You think you've won? We are the Kethrin Empire. We have conquered worlds before your species learned to speak. Yes, Okoye replied. We know. We studied every one of those conquests. We learned from them, and then we prepared specifically for you. 58 seconds. 2. The first strike. Zarthok made his decision in the space between heartbeats. Pride and fear warred within him, and pride won, as it always did, as it always had, as it had in 47 successful campaigns. All ships, he roared. Full assault. Target their capital vessels for the Empire. The Kethrin fleet, battered but not broken, turned their weapons toward the human ships and fired everything they had. Plasma cannons erupted in brilliant streams of superheated matter. Kinetic accelerators hurled projectiles at orbital velocities. Missile pods opened, releasing swarms of quantum-guided warheads. 247 warships unleashed their fury in a synchronized barrage that would have obliterated any conventional fleet. The human response was almost casual. Every human vessel deployed what appeared to be a shimmering field, not traditional shields, but something fluid and responsive. As Kethrin weapons struck, the fields rippled and adapted, nanoscale particles, reconfiguring in microseconds to counter each specific threat. Plasma dissolved against magnetic barriers. Kinetic rounds were caught by localized gravity wells and deflected harmlessly. Missiles detonated prematurely as their guidance systems were hacked mid-flight by intrusion software that shouldn't have been possible. Shields holding at 97%. The human weapons officer reported somewhere in Earth Defense Command. Admiral Okoye nodded calmly. Weapons free. Engage at will. The human fleet opened fire. The graviton weapons had been terrifying. These were devastating. Particle beam lances cut through Kethrin armor like tissue paper, coherent streams of accelerated matter that burned with the fury of captive stars. Magnetic acceleration cannons hurled rounds that punched through multiple ships in a single shot. And then there were the new weapons, technologies the Kethrin had never encountered. Quantum disruptor fields that caused atomic bonds to simply stop functioning, turning solid hulls into clouds of component atoms. Electromagnetic pulse bombs that fried every electronic system within 1,000 kilometers. Nanite missiles that burrowed into hulls and dismantled ships from the inside out, molecule by molecule. The Stormbreaker is gone, Krell reported. The endless hunger, critical damage, Void Render is breaking apart. Commander, we've lost 76 ships in 4 minutes. But it was the Ghost Fleet that truly broke the Kethrin formation. They appeared from nowhere. Small, fast frigates that had been lurking in the battle space the entire time, invisible even to Kethrin active sensors. They struck at the rear formations, targeting engines and command decks with surgical precision. No ship larger than 5,000 tons. No crew aboard. They were drones, operated by AI systems that reacted faster than any biological mind could process. They swarmed like insects, overwhelming point defense systems, through sheer numbers and impossible agility. "They're everywhere!" a Kethran captain screamed over the command channel before his transmission cut to static. Zarthok watched his fleet die around him. Ships that had conquered star systems were reduced to drifting hulks. Warriors who had never known defeat were screaming in terror as human weapons tore through their formations like wolves through sheep. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, was the efficiency of it. The humans weren't fighting angry, they weren't cruel, they were simply methodical. Every shot calculated, every maneuver optimized. They fought like they'd practiced this exact battle 1,000 times. Because they had. "Tactical analysis," Zarthok demanded, his voice hollow. Shen pulled up the data, his hands trembling. "Commander, every weapon they're using is designed specifically to counter our technology. The graviton pulses bypass our shield frequency. The particle beams operate at wavelengths our armor can't reflect. Even their formation tactics. They're exploiting weaknesses in theta formation that I didn't know existed." "They studied us," Krell whispered. "For 3 years, they studied every battle, every tactic. They knew how we'd fight before we even arrived." Zarthok remembered Chen's words. "We know how you think, how you fight." She hadn't been bluffing. It had been a statement of fact. The humans had turned the Kethran Empire's own success against them. Every conquest, every tactical database, every intercepted communication, humanity had absorbed it all, analyzed it, and built a defense network specifically engineered to destroy Kethran forces. The trap had been set 3 years ago, the moment human deep space sensors detected Kethran scout ships. Everything since then had been preparation, and now that preparation was paying off in Kethran blood. "Desperate counterattack, retreat!" Zarthok finally roared. "All ships, fall back, reform at... Commander, retreat vectors are blocked." Tactical showed the terrible truth. During the battle, while Kethran attention focused on the human fleet, thousands of small objects had moved into position behind them. Mines, drones, automated weapons platforms. A net had closed without anyone noticing. "The humans herded us here," Krell said numbly. "From the moment we entered the system, they were guiding us. The passive stations, the lack of resistance, even Ambassador Chen's warning, all designed to draw us into this exact position." Zarthok looked at his tactical display with new eyes. The moon's weapons covered the forward arc. Earth's orbital platforms created a deadly crossfire from starboard. The asteroid belt platforms blocked port side, and behind them, the minefield eliminated retreat. They'd flown willingly into a kill box. "Fleet dispersion pattern Omega," Zarthok commanded. "Break formation, scatter, find gaps in their coverage." It was the correct tactical decision. The only decision. A dispersed fleet was harder to target, harder to contain. Individual ships might escape even if the fleet as a whole was doomed. The Kethran vessels broke formation and accelerated in different directions, engines burning at maximum, desperately seeking any opening in humanity's net. The human AI predicted every move, because it had been designed to predict every move. Humanity's quantum computers had run this battle simulation 10 million times, gaming out every possible Kethran response, every tactical variation, every desperate gambit. Pattern Omega was simulation run 4,847,293. Response was pre-programmed. As Kethran ships scattered, the human drone swarms shifted to intercept. Not randomly, each drone was pre-assigned to a specific target based on that target's probable escape vector. When the Kethran moved exactly as predicted, the drones were already waiting. "They're anticipating us," a Kethran captain screamed. "How are they?" His ship exploded as 3 drones struck simultaneously, their payloads timed to detonate at the exact moment of impact for maximum effect. Zarthok watched in growing horror as ship after ship tried to break free, and ship after ship was intercepted by weapons that seemed to know where they were going before they got there. "They're not just better than us," Shen whispered. "They're playing a different game entirely. This isn't even a battle for them, it's an execution. They already won. They won 3 years ago when they detected our scouts. Everything since then has just been implementing their solution." Admiral Okoye watched the Kethrin fleet's desperate maneuvers from Earth Defense Command, his expression unreadable. "Sir, enemy fleet cohesion is at 12%, his tactical officer reported. 83 vessels, destroyed, 109 disabled, remainder scattered and attempting escape. Our casualties, 0. Minor damage to 4 frigates already under repair by autonomous systems." "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving distress calls from multiple Kethrin vessels. Some are requesting medical assistance. Several captains are asking for terms of surrender." Okoye was quiet for a long moment. Around him, the command center was eerily calm. No celebration, no triumph. Just professional military personnel doing their jobs with quiet efficiency. "Open a channel to all Kethrin vessels," he finally said. "All frequencies." The channel opened. "Attention, Kethrin fleet," Okoye's voice carried across the void. "This is Admiral James Okoye of the United Earth Defense Force. You are defeated. You have been defeated not through luck or surprise, but through preparation and precision. We studied you. We prepared for you. And when you ignored our warning, we executed a battle plan 3 years in the making." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But we are not like you. We do not conquer. We do not enslave. Any vessel that powers down weapons and transmits surrender codes will be boarded by medical teams. Your wounded will be treated. Your survivors will be held according to interstellar law. We offer you mercy, not because you deserve it, but because we choose to be better than you. However," and now his voice hardened, "any ship that continues to resist will be destroyed without hesitation. You have 2 minutes to decide. Choose wisely. Choose better than your commander did when he ignored Ambassador Chen." The channel closed. The breakdown aboard, the dominant Fang, Zarthok stared at the view screen where Okoye's face had been. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders that he no longer knew how to give. 147 ships. That's all that remained of his 300, and those 147 were scattered, damaged, surrounded by an enemy that had demonstrated absolute superiority. "Commander," Krell said quietly, "we must surrender. There's no shame in—" "No!" Zarthok slammed all 4 manipulators against his command throne. "I am fleet commander of the Kethrin Empire. I have never surrendered, never. I will not be the first." "Then you'll be dead," Shen said flatly. The young officer had lost his deference, his fear. He'd watched too many ships die. "And you'll take what's left of the fleet with you. For what, pride? The Empire sent us here to conquer a primitive species, Commander. They didn't know. We didn't know. But now we do. The humans aren't primitive. They're advanced, prepared, and they're offering terms. Take them. Listen to that human admiral," Krell added. "They're not gloating. They're not reveling in victory. They're offering medical aid to their enemies. When was the last time the Empire did that? When have we ever shown mercy to the conquered?" Zarthok wanted to rage, to reject, to fight to his last breath. But he was a military commander, not a fool. The mathematics were irrefutable. His fleet was destroyed. Resistance was futile, truly futile. Not the propaganda phrase they told conquered species. And deep down, beneath the pride and the fury, he was terrified. Terrified because the humans had demonstrated something more frightening than superior weapons, superior intelligence. They'd outthought the Empire at every level. They'd predicted Kethrin behavior with perfect accuracy. They'd built a defense network specifically engineered to annihilate this exact fleet. What else had they prepared? What other contingencies had they planned? If the Empire sent reinforcements, would they fly into an even larger trap? "Open a channel," Zarthok said, his voice hollow. "To Earth Defense Command." The view screen activated, showing Admiral Okoye's calm face once more. "Admiral," Zarthok forced the words out, "the dominant Fang surrenders. I am ordering all remaining vessels under my command to power down weapons and transmit surrender codes." "A wise decision, Commander," Okoye replied. "Stand by for boarding. Your wounded will receive immediate medical attention." "I have one question," Zarthok said. "One thing I must understand. How did you hide all this? How did an entire species coordinate in perfect secrecy?" Okoye's expression softened slightly. "Because you expected chaos, we showed you chaos. You intercepted our transmissions and saw conflict and division. What you didn't see were the encrypted quantum channels underneath. You listened to our public broadcasts while we conducted our real business in perfect silence. And the construction? 300 warships, a weaponized moon, thousands of platforms that requires resources, industry, coordination on an impossible scale. Commander, when you detected our scout ships 3 years ago, we had 1 year of warning before your arrival. We suspended every non-essential program on Earth. Every nation contributed. Every resource was pooled. We built this defense network in secret while broadcasting business as usual to the galaxy. We hollowed out asteroids and carved bases into the moon, while you watched cat videos and political debates on our public channels. Okoye leaned forward slightly. We're not divided, Commander. We're diverse. There's a difference. When threatened, humanity unifies. It's what we do. It's what we've always done. The transmission ended. Zarthok sat in his command throne, surrounded by the ruins of his pride, and wondered how he would ever explain this to the Empire. How do you tell your superiors that you were defeated not by a superior military, but by a species that was so much smarter than you that they'd won the war before you even knew you were fighting? Tougher final stand and aftermath. The next 6 hours were surreal. Human boarding teams arrived in small shuttles, not assault craft, but medical transports. They wore powered armor, yes, but the medics that emerged carried medical scanners and plasma stretchers, not weapons. They treated Kethrin wounded with the same care they showed their own. They stabilized dying warriors and transported them to hospital ships with proper atmospheric controls and gravity, suitable for Kethrin physiology. Zarthok watched from the Dominant Fang's medical bay, his thorax cracked by the graviton pulse as human doctors worked to save his crew. They moved with professional efficiency, communicating in soft voices, showing no hatred or contempt for their enemies. Why? He asked the human doctor treating him, a young woman with kind eyes and gentle hands. Why what? She replied, adjusting the bone knitter over his damaged carapace. Why show us mercy? We came to conquer you, to enslave your species. She was quiet for a moment, focusing on her work. Then, because we're better than that. Because mercy isn't weakness, it's strength. Anyone can kill. It takes real strength to choose not to. Ambassador Chen appeared in the doorway, still wearing her gray diplomatic uniform. She looked tired, deeply, profoundly tired. Commander Zarthok, she said quietly, may I speak with you? The doctor finished her work and left. Chen sat in a chair clearly designed for human proportions, looking almost comically small. You tried to warn me, Zarthok said. I didn't listen. No, you didn't, but we knew you wouldn't. Your empire has a very predictable pattern, Commander. You mistake restraint for weakness. You interpret peace as an invitation. You see diversity and assume division. She sighed. We've been monitoring your empire for a decade. Every conquest follows the same pattern. Overwhelming force. Brutal efficiency. No mercy for those who resist, so you prepared, we prepared. When our deep space arrays detected your scout ships, we knew you'd be back. So we ran the numbers. We analyzed every battle you'd ever fought. We studied your technology, your tactics, your culture, and then we built a defense network specifically designed to defeat you. Chen pulled up a holographic display from her wrist device. We intercepted your quantum communications for 3 years, Commander. We knew your fleet composition before you left Kethrin space. We knew your approach vector. We knew Commander Zarthok had 47 victories and 0 defeats. We knew you'd be confident. We knew you'd ignore a warning. We counted on it. Zarthok stared at the data, communications intercepts, decoded transmissions, intelligence reports that should have been impossible for a primitive species to obtain. You've been watching us for a decade, watching and learning. The galaxy assumes that because we haven't left our system, we're primitive. They're wrong. We've had quantum communication arrays listening to the galaxy for 50 years. We've decoded most major species' languages. We've watched empires rise and fall. We've studied everyone's technology, everyone's tactics. Chen's expression grew serious. We're not primitives, Commander. We're survivors. We're patient. And when threatened, we're absolutely ruthless in our preparation. The Kethrin Empire will send more fleets, Zarthok said. Larger ones. Better prepared. Yes, Chen agreed. We're counting on it. This was a test of our defensive network. You've helped us identify weaknesses we need to address. By the time your empire sends reinforcements, we'll be even more ready. She stood to leave, then paused at the door. Commander, we're going to send you home. All of you. Treated, healed, and in vessels equipped with full documentation of this battle. Every sensor reading. Every tactical analysis. Every moment of your defeat recorded in perfect detail. Zarthok's mandibles spread in confusion. Why? Why give us that intelligence? Chen smiled, a small sad smile. Because we want you to take a message back to your empire. We want them to see exactly what happened here. We want them to understand that Earth is not prey. We're not victims. We're not easy conquest. We're the species that sees danger coming and spends years preparing for it. We're the ones who turn our entire civilization into a weapon when threatened. We're humanity. She moved to the door, then looked back one final time. Tell your empire, Commander Zarthok. Earth is not theirs to take. We gave you a warning. You ignored it. Now the galaxy will see what happens to species that mistake our peace for weakness. Spread the word. Leave humanity alone. 6. Epilogue. The message spreads. 6 months later, the Kethran survivors returned to Empire space in vessels provided by Earth. Modern ships equipped with faster-than-light drives that the Empire's own technology couldn't match. Another subtle message about humanity's true capabilities. The documentation Chen had promised was comprehensive. Holographic recordings of the entire battle, sensor analysis of human weapons, tactical breakdowns of Earth's defensive network. It was all there, presented with the clinical precision of a species that wanted to be absolutely sure their message was understood. The Kethran High Command watched the recordings in stunned silence. Third Fleet, 300 of their finest warships, had been dismantled in hours by a species they'd classified as primitive. But it was the intelligence analysis that truly shook them. Human quantum communication arrays had been listening to Empire transmissions for years. They'd decoded Kethran encryption. They'd studied 47 conquest campaigns and built countermeasures for every tactic. Earth hadn't just won a battle. They demonstrated that they could predict, prepare for, and defeat any military force the Empire could send. The message spread beyond the Empire. The Torvash Collective received the data through backdoor channels. The Velnar Republic intercepted the transmissions. Within months, every major power in the local galactic sector had seen the recordings. Humanity's reputation underwent a radical transformation. They'd been dismissed as primitive, confined to their single star system. Now they were recognized as dangerous. A species that combined advanced technology with patient strategic thinking, who prepared in absolute secrecy, who showed mercy to defeated enemies while demonstrating the capacity for total warfare. Ambassador Chen stood in Earth's newly constructed orbital diplomatic station, looking down at her homeworld. The station was the latest message to the galaxy. Humanity was ready to join the interstellar community, but on their own terms. They're calling us the ghost species now, her aide reported. Species that appear weak but hide their true strength. The Kethran incident has changed everything, Ambassador. We're receiving diplomatic inquiries from 17 civilizations. 3 are offering trade agreements. 2 are proposing defensive alliances. Chen nodded slowly. And the Kethran Empire? No hostile action since the fleet's return. Intelligence suggests they're engaged in major internal debates about future expansion policy. Some factions are calling for overwhelming force. Send 1,000 ships instead of 300. Others argue that Earth has proven too dangerous to engage at all. Good. Uncertainty keeps us safe. Chen turned from the viewport. What about the defense network? Continuous upgrades. We're incorporating lessons from the engagement. Admiral Okoye estimates we could handle a fleet 3 times larger with our current capabilities. And we're expanding. The asteroid belt platforms are being duplicated in the outer system. Mars is being fortified. We're even beginning construction on the Jupiter project. Chen smiled. The Jupiter project. Turning the gas giant's moons into advanced warning stations and shipyards. Humanity wasn't just defending Earth anymore. They were expanding their defensive perimeter throughout the entire solar system. Schedule a transmission to all civilizations that have contacted us, Chen ordered. Simple message. Earth welcomes peaceful contact and mutually beneficial trade. We're willing to share certain technologies in exchange for the same, but make it clear. Make it absolutely clear that we will never tolerate aggression. Any species that threatens Earth will face the same fate as the Kethran Third Fleet. And if someone tests that threat, Chen's expression hardened. Then we demonstrate once again that humanity's greatest strength has never been our weapons. It's our ability to see danger coming and prepare for it. We don't want war. But if war comes to us, we'll end it on our terms. She looked out at Earth. at the blue marble that held 8 billion humans who'd unified in secret to build the impossible. We gave the Kethrin a choice, Chen said softly. We tried. We warned them, and when they ignored that warning, we showed them the price of underestimating humanity. Now the whole galaxy knows. Earth is not prey. We're not victims. We're the species that turns our entire civilization into a weapon when threatened, and then chooses mercy after victory. That's the message we want spreading across the stars. Don't mistake our peace for weakness. Don't mistake our restraint for inability. Don't mistake our warnings for bluffs. Because when humanity says turn back, we mean it. And if you ignore that warning, Chen turned from the viewport, her reflection merging with the image of Earth behind her. Well, the Kethrin found out. Across the galaxy, in council chambers and military headquarters, on colony worlds and homeworlds, the message was being received. Humanity had arrived on the interstellar stage, and they'd arrived by winning a war so decisively that everyone else decided not to fight them. It was the most human strategy possible. Be so prepared, so capable, so overwhelmingly effective that warfare becomes unnecessary. Peace through superior preparation. Mercy, backed by unstoppable force, and the promise, the absolute guarantee that anyone foolish enough to test humanity's resolve would face the same fate as Commander Zarthok's fleet defeat, humiliation, and then mercy, because that was humanity's true strength. The ability to crush their enemies and then choose to heal them instead. It was a message that would echo across the stars for generations. We gave you a warning. You ignored it. Now you know the price. Choose better next time. Choose peace.